Have you ever noticed that the moment someone rejects you, something inside you whispers, maybe I'm not enough? But what if I told you that rejection doesn't reveal your weakness? It reveals the version of yourself you're finally ready to outgrow. What if the pain you feel is not a punishment, but an invitation to step into a woman you've never dared to be? Take a breath, because once you understand this, softness will no longer be your downfall. It will become your power. And after this, you will understand exactly how to stop being a soft woman after rejection, and how to rebuild yourself with unshakable strength and confidence. 1. The illusion of loss. It starts quietly, almost too quietly for you to notice. That small trembling in the heart, that soft ache beneath the ribs, that lingering sense that something has slipped through your fingers. You replay the moment of rejection again and again, as if the truth will appear the 20th time you examine it. But loss is not what you think it is. Loss is not the absence of something you needed. It is the removal of something that had completed its purpose. And yet, the human heart rarely accepts this truth in real time. It wants to believe it has been robbed. It wants to believe that something essential has been taken. But look deeper. If something can leave you, it was never truly yours. And if something is meant to stay, it will not require you to plead for its presence. There is a strange gentleness in seeing life this way. As if the universe is whispering, you can unclench your hands now, because what is meant for you does not need to be chased. It moves toward you with the same inevitability as breath, as sunrise, as the tide returning to shore. But most of us, especially after being rejected, forget this softness. We grip harder, we hold tighter, we cling to the idea of what could have been, and we mourn it as if it were a living being. You mourn not just the person or the situation. You mourn the version of yourself you imagine inside that story. You mourn the future that collapsed silently the moment the rejection arrived. You mourn the fantasy you built piece by fragile piece. This is why the heart feels shattered. Not because you lost someone, but because you lost the story you had written. The mind hates incompletion. It hates endings. It hates unanswered questions. And rejection is a cruel teacher. It gives you nothing but silence, yet demands you learn everything from it. So you stand there, feeling like something precious has been torn away. But step back, breathe, observe with a quieter mind. Did you truly lose something, or did you simply shed an illusion? Sometimes the universe removes what you are too afraid to release on your own. Sometimes life closes a door because you were never meant to plant your future there. And sometimes the greatest protection comes disguised as heartbreak. Loss is only an illusion because you did not come into this world needing anything external to complete you. Everything you have ever needed has always been here. In your breath, in your spirit, in your quiet strength. Rejection did not take something from you. It simply showed you that what you thought you needed was never the source of your wholeness. And if you sit long enough with this realization, you will feel a subtle shift inside, a softening, a returning, a remembering. Because beneath the illusion of loss lies a deeper truth. You are still whole. You are still here. And nothing essential has been taken from you. But if loss is only an illusion, then why does it hurt so deeply? Let's walk into that question together. 2. The lie of not enough. The pain hurts not because something was taken from you, but because rejection whispers the oldest, most poisonous lie of all: you are not enough. You see, rejection doesn't wound your heart first. It wounds your identity. It shakes the inner foundation you quietly built your self-worth upon. And suddenly, you begin questioning everything: your beauty, your worthiness, your desirability, your value, your strength. You begin to wonder if perhaps you are somehow less, somehow lacking, somehow unworthy of being chosen. But pause here, breathe again, look closer. This lie only surfaces because rejection creates a silence, and in that silence, your insecurities begin speaking louder than your truth. You weren't told you weren't enough. You assumed it. The mind is an expert storyteller. When it doesn't know the reason someone walked away, it invents one, and always at the expense of your confidence. But the truth is far gentler, far simpler, far less personal. You were not rejected because you lacked anything. You were rejected because that experience, that person, that chapter was misaligned with where your spirit is heading. All things that exit your life do so by energetic mismatch, not by your inadequacy. Alignment is not about worth. Alignment is about direction. Two rivers can flow beautifully until they reach a fork, and then they separate, not because one river is weaker, but because each must follow its natural path, and so must you. But the mind caught in its wound does not see separation as redirection. It sees it as condemnation. It convinces you that if you were better, smarter, more pleasing, more perfect, the person would have stayed. But perfection does not guarantee love. Authenticity does, and authenticity requires space. Space that rejection, paradoxically, creates. The lie of not enough dissolves. When you understand this, you cannot lose what is aligned with your soul, and you cannot keep what is not. Rejection only shows you that something or someone is not in resonance with your essence. It is not a statement about your worth. It is a statement about your path. But here is where the deeper transformation begins. Once you break the lie of inadequacy, you must learn the difference between the softness of your heart and the fragility of your emotions. Because understanding your worth is only the beginning. Protecting it, that is where strength is born. And this brings us gently into the next reflection, where softness becomes a doorway to power. 3. Emotional softness versus emotional fragility. There is a tenderness inside you that is sacred, a softness that allows you to feel deeply, love fully, and connect with life in a way many never can. This softness is not your weakness, it is your gift. But somewhere along the journey, someone taught you that softness means being easily broken. Someone taught you that sensitivity is vulnerability, and vulnerability is danger. And so you protected yourself the only way you knew how. You hid your softness behind silence, or behind pleasing others, or behind becoming overly accommodating, hoping that if you made yourself gentle enough, you would never be rejected again. But softness and fragility are not the same thing. Softness bends, fragility breaks. A soft woman feels everything, but she does not collapse under feeling. A fragile woman avoids emotion because she believes emotion will destroy her. Softness is alive, fragility is fear. Softness allows you to cry when something hurts, but still rise when the crying is done. Fragility keeps you kneeling long after the tears have dried, because you fear standing again. And here is the truth many never hear. You are allowed to be soft. You are even meant to be soft, but you are not meant to be shattered. Softness becomes fragility the moment you depend on someone else to validate it. When your emotions become tied to another person's approval, their choices become your emotional earthquakes. Rejection hurts fragile hearts deeply because fragility has no inner anchor. It drifts, it clings, it relies on others to hold it upright. Softness is different. Softness knows how to stand tall, even while trembling. Softness is flexible but rooted. Softness feels the storm, but does not let the storm redefine its worth. Softness says, I can feel this pain fully and still choose myself. Fragility says, if they don't choose me, I collapse. And ask yourself, which one have you been? Rejection does not break soft women. It refines them. It teaches them boundaries, standards, discernment. Soft women learn how to hold their hearts without giving others the power to drop them. But fragile women shatter because they hand their hearts over too easily. Believing love means surrendering all your power. This is where your transformation begins, not by hardening yourself, but by strengthening the foundation underneath your softness. You do not need to become cold. You do not need to become distant. You do not need to shut down your emotions. You only need to learn how to protect them. And once you understand this difference, once you learn to be soft but not fragile, rejection will no longer define you. It will no longer consume you. It will no longer determine how you see yourself. Instead, it will become a simple moment, a passing wave, a redirection, not a verdict. Because a soft woman with strong roots is unshakable. And yet, even this realization opens the door to a deeper truth. If softness is strength, then what does pain truly want to teach you? Let's step into that next awakening. 4. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is a strange companion. It enters without asking, sits where it pleases, lingers longer than it should, and yet it is often the one force that tells you the truth no one else has the courage to speak. You spend so much energy trying to avoid pain, escaping it, numbing it, silencing it, outrunning it, as if pain were a monster waiting to devour you the moment you slow down. But pain has never been your enemy. Pain is the lantern in the dark room of your soul, illuminating what you refuse to acknowledge. When someone rejects you, the first instinct is to shut down, to close the door, to pretend you are unaffected. But the ache refuses to be ignored. It pulses through your chest, reminding you that something inside needs attention. Pain is simply the messenger of what has long been buried. But you were never taught to listen to pain. You were taught to fear it, to hide from it, to dismiss it, to label it as weakness. Yet what if pain is simply guiding you back to yourself? What if the hurt is the body's way of saying, here is where something needs healing. Here is where the wound has been waiting for your presence. Every tear, every tight breath, every night you lay awake wondering why this happened. All of it is communication, not punishment, not abandonment, communication. Pain is not the destroyer, pain is the revealer. Think of it this way. Your physical body uses pain to protect you. If you burn your hand, the pain signals you to pull away. If you break a bone, the pain keeps you from using it. Pain does not harm you. It protects you from harming yourself further. Your emotional pain works the same way. It warns you, this situation was not for you. This person was not aligned with your peace. This path would have drained you. This version of you needed to be released. But most women misinterpret this message. They think pain means they must hold on tighter, love harder, try more desperately. They believe the ache means I must fix this, not realizing that pain is saying, let this go. Rejection stings because it touches the deepest places, your identity, your hopes, your unspoken dreams. And it is in those deeper places that pain becomes a compass. It points you toward the truth. What you were clinging to was never built to sustain your spirit. Pain pushes you inward. It pushes you toward self-discovery, self-respect, self-protection. It asks you to look at the wounds you've avoided. The childhood scars, the insecurities, the patterns of people-pleasing, the need for validation, the fear of abandonment. Pain holds up a mirror. And even though the reflection is difficult to face, it is also the doorway to transformation. You cannot heal what you do not feel. You cannot evolve without acknowledging the parts of yourself that have been silenced. Pain invites you to open the door to those silenced parts, to sit with them, to listen, to understand, to release. So instead of asking, why am I hurting? Perhaps ask, what is this pain trying to show me? Because pain is not the storm. Pain is the lighthouse guiding you safely through it. And once you learn to listen to pain, you will realize something even deeper, that every hurt is connected to something within you that has long been waiting for healing. And this leads us to the next revelation. Pain doesn't destroy you, it exposes the unhealed places within you. 5. Rejection reveals the unhealed places. Rejection has a way of touching wounds you didn't even know you still carried. It's as though the moment someone pulls away from you, every old scratch, every hidden bruise, every unseen scar rises to the surface. A single moment can echo decades of unhealed memories. You think you're hurting because someone left, but the truth is, you're hurting because something inside you has finally been exposed. Imagine your heart as a room with many corners, some bright and open, others dim and untouched. Rejection shines a harsh, sudden light into one of those dark corners, revealing what has been gathering dust for years. Old rejections, forgotten heartbreaks, childhood disappointments, buried insecurities, moments you never processed. Suddenly, everything hurts at once. But this is not a collapse. This is a revelation. You were not rejected because you're unworthy. You were rejected because there's a wound inside you that needs healing. And life will keep sending mirrors until you finally decide to look. Rejection is not the cause of your pain. It is the trigger that awakens the original pain you've been carrying silently. Think of the moments when you felt ignored as a child, the times you felt unheard, the moments you convinced yourself you had to earn love by pleasing, sacrificing, shrinking, the fear of saying no, the fear of losing someone, the fear of being alone. None of these wounds disappeared with time. They simply went dormant, but rejection shakes them awake. It asks you to look deeper. Why do you feel devastated? Why do you feel small? Why does someone's absence feel like the collapse of your identity? You hurt not because someone turned away, but because their turning away pressed its finger into an old bruise, a bruise you've been pretending wasn't there. Rejection is brutally honest. It shows you exactly where your heart needs support, exactly where your spirit needs reinforcement, exactly where your boundaries need strengthening. It reveals the patterns in your love, the tendency to overgive, the tendency to overlook red flags, the desire to be chosen, the habit of trying to earn affection. Rejection says, this is the wound you must heal if you want to rise. It isn't the end, it's the diagnosis. And when you understand this, you stop seeing rejection as an enemy and begin viewing it as a profound teacher. Some lessons arrive gently. Rejection does not. It arrives fierce and loud, pulling truths from the shadows and placing them into your trembling hands. But these truths are gifts. They allow you to see yourself clearly. They allow you to release the patterns that hurt you. They allow you to rebuild yourself with strength and intention. Every scar has a story. Every story has a lesson. And every lesson brings you closer to the woman you are becoming. Rejection reveals what love, true love, will eventually heal. And once you begin to see the wounds, you are finally ready to reclaim the power you forgot you had. Because the next step is remembering the strength that has been sleeping inside you, waiting for you to return to it. 6. The power you forgot you had. Somewhere along your journey, you forgot who you were, not because you are weak and not because life defeated you, but because you learned to give pieces of yourself away to people who didn't know how to hold them. You gave your time, your loyalty, your softness, your energy, out of love, out of hope, out of innocence, and slowly, without realizing it, you began believing that your worth depended on how others received you. So when rejection came, you thought it meant you were not valuable. You thought it meant you were not enough. You thought it meant you lacked something essential. But rejection doesn't diminish your power. It simply reveals where you placed it. Your power didn't disappear. You just handed it to the wrong place, the wrong person, the wrong moment, the wrong expectation. Now life is asking you to reclaim it. There is a strength inside you that has weathered storms far bigger than this heartbreak. You have survived disappointments that once felt unbearable. You have risen from endings that once convinced you would never stand again. And yet, you rose. So why do you forget this when rejection knocks on your door? You forget because pain makes you see only the moment, not the history of strength behind you. But the truth remains. Every time you broke, you rebuilt. Every time you fell, you rose. Every time you lost, you learned. Every time someone walked away, you walked forward. You are not fragile. You are becoming. And the power you forgot you had is not loud or aggressive. It does not roar or demand attention. It is quiet, steady, unshakable. It is the power to choose yourself again and again. The power to walk away from what dishonors your spirit. The power to say, I deserve more than this. The power to create boundaries. The power to heal. The power to release. The power to rise. You reclaim your power the moment you stop waiting for others to recognize it. You reclaim it when you stop measuring your worth by how someone else responds to you. You reclaim it when you understand that you were whole long before they arrived, and you remain whole long after they leave. Rejection did not break you. It reminded you. It reminded you that your spirit cannot be diminished by someone else's inability to value you. It reminded you that your essence is not negotiable. It reminded you that the love you seek must begin within you. And when you return to your power, truly return, you become impossible to shake. Because the woman who remembers her power cannot be defined by who chooses her, only by who she chooses to become. And now that your power is awakening, the next transformation begins with how you respond to those who once took it for granted. 7. Stop worshiping people who don't choose you. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she must face a truth she has avoided for far too long. That she has been giving sacred energy to people who treat her presence as optional. She has been kneeling emotionally before those who would never kneel for her. She has been offering loyalty to those who do not even offer attention. And she has been worshiping connections that were never deserving of her devotion. It is a hard truth to admit, because the heart does not always know the difference between love and attachment, between longing and loyalty, between habit and alignment. The heart confuses familiarity with destiny, and so you find yourself clinging to someone who stopped choosing you long before you found the strength to walk away. But here is the quiet revelation. Whenever you worship someone who doesn't choose you, you shrink your own soul to fit inside their neglect. You become smaller each time you wait for a call that never comes. You break yourself a little each time you try to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You give away pieces of your identity while hoping they will give you crumbs of affection in return. And the tragedy is not that they don't choose you. The tragedy is that you keep choosing them anyway. There is no empowerment in begging to be seen. There is no dignity in shrinking yourself to stay in someone's line of sight. There is no strength in giving someone the role of God in your life, someone who decides if you feel loved today or forgotten tomorrow. When you worship someone who does not choose you, you abandon yourself in the process. You abandon your standards, your boundaries, your power, your truth. You trade your inner peace for the illusion of connection. And illusions always cost more than reality. But understand this, you were not created to be an option. You were not shaped to be background noise. You were not destined to chase love that is running away from you. You were made to be chosen without hesitation. You were made to be valued without negotiation. You were made to be loved without proving your worth. And yet when you worship the wrong person, you forget how powerful you truly are. The painful part is not that they walked away. It's that you stayed long after their actions told you it was over. You stayed because part of you hoped your loyalty would make them loyal. You stayed because part of you believed your effort could rewrite their desire. You stayed because you thought that if you just loved harder, they would love differently. But love does not work like that. Love is not a transaction. Love cannot be earned through self-abandonment. Love is not a reward for breaking yourself in half to please someone else. Stop worshipping people who don't choose you. Stop making altars out of people who refuse to meet you where you are. Stop defining your value by someone's unwillingness to recognize it. Your heart is sacred ground. Not everyone should be allowed to enter. Not everyone has the maturity to honor what grows there. Not everyone has the capacity to stay. And when someone refuses to choose you, do not humiliate your soul by begging them to reconsider. You are not hard to love. They are simply not capable. And yet there is something quietly liberating about accepting this truth. Because once you do, you stop waiting. You stop begging. You stop bending. You stop sacrificing yourself for people who would never make the same sacrifice for you. You reclaim your dignity. You reclaim your boundaries. You reclaim your throne. And when you reclaim your throne, you begin to see something deeper. Something that has always been there, but was clouded by the noise of longing and fear. Because when you stop worshipping people who don't choose you, you begin to learn a profound truth about silence. 8. Silence is a response. Silence is one of the most misunderstood forms of communication. People think silence means uncertainty, indifference, confusion, or avoidance. But silence is much more intentional than that. Silence is a decision, a statement, a revelation. Silence speaks loudly in the spaces where words refuse to appear. When someone is silent with you, they are not confused, they are not too busy, they are not unsure. They are communicating exactly how they feel. Without the courtesy of words, silence says, I do not choose you. Silence says, you are not my priority. Silence says, I do not value this connection enough to nurture it. You may try to interpret the silence. You may create stories to protect your heart from the truth. He must be overwhelmed. She must be tired. They must be thinking things through. But silence is only mysterious when you do not want to accept what it reveals. Silence is clarity disguised as uncertainty. And yet so many women try to fill the silence with their own effort, sending messages to break the quiet, calling to ease the discomfort, explaining themselves to someone who will not even offer a single sentence in return. Every time you chase someone who gives you silence, you betray your own soul. Silence is not an invitation. It is a boundary. It is a declaration. It is someone saying, I am withdrawing my presence. Do what you will with the empty space I leave behind. The problem is not their silence. The problem is that you keep trying to convert it into affection. But silence is not affection. Silence is absence. It is the absence of effort, the absence of care, the absence of desire, the absence of intention, the absence of choosing you. And yet silence is also a blessing, a mirror, a teacher, because silence forces you to stop listening to their actions and start listening to your intuition. It forces you to stop bargaining for someone's presence and start reclaiming your self-respect. It forces you to realize that you should not have to prove your worth to someone who refuses to speak into your life. Silence gives you space, the space to think, the space to breathe, the space to see clearly what you refused to acknowledge before. In silence, you begin to awaken to your own patterns. In silence, you hear your own needs. In silence, you remember the parts of yourself you ignored while chasing someone else. Silence teaches you what words could never reveal. And here is the empowering truth. You do not have to respond to silence with desperation. You do not have to fight for someone who stopped speaking to you. You do not have to fill the void they created. Your job is not to fix their silence. Your job is to honor your heart. Silence is their answer, but how you respond to that answer reveals the maturity of your soul. Do not chase someone who chooses silence over you. Do not lower your standards because someone refuses to speak. Do not abandon yourself trying to maintain a connection that is already ended on their side. Embrace the silence. Learn from it. Rise through it. And once you do, once you stop fearing silence and begin understanding it, your next step becomes clearer, stepping back. Because silence teaches you when it's time to stop reaching and start retreating. 9. The wisdom of stepping back. Stepping back is not giving up. Stepping back is not surrender. Stepping back is not defeat. Stepping back is wisdom. The kind of wisdom that blooms only after you've been wounded and healed through truth. There is a quiet strength in withdrawing your energy from a place where it is unappreciated. There is dignity in stepping back from someone who does not step forward. There is power in reclaiming your presence from those who take it for granted. But stepping back is not something the heart learns easily. It wants closure. It wants understanding. It wants to believe that effort can repair what is broken. It wants to try one more time, send one more message, give one more chance. But wisdom whispers, no more. Wisdom reminds you that trying harder is not the same as being valued. Wisdom reminds you that effort cannot revive something that has already died. Wisdom reminds you that you cannot force alignment through persistence. Stepping back is an act of emotional clarity. It is the moment you stop fighting for someone who is not fighting for you. It is the moment you realize that you cannot negotiate for space. In someone's heart, you cannot beg to be prioritized. You cannot demand what they do not have the capacity to give. Stepping back allows you to see the truth without distortion. It clears the fog created by longing, fear, and hope. It brings the situation into focus, sharp, undeniable, illuminating. When you step back, you stop centering your world around someone who barely made room for you in theirs. You stop make-believing. You stop pretending. You stop over-investing. You stop acting like your worth depends on someone's validation. Stepping back is a recalibration of the soul. It is you returning to your own orbit. And once you step back, you begin to feel something unexpected. Peace. The peace of no longer chasing. The peace of no longer waiting. The peace of no longer begging. The peace of no longer explaining. The peace of no longer forcing. Stepping back gives you space to breathe, to reconnect with your inner voice, to hear your intuition clearly, to feel your own strength again. You begin to realize that you were never meant to be the one reaching out constantly. You were meant to be met, matched, chosen, cherished, reciprocated. And those things do not require chasing. They arrive naturally, with ease, with sincerity, with intentionality. Stepping back teaches you that the right people do not need to be convinced. They recognize your value and treat it accordingly. And when you understand this, you begin to see the beauty of stepping back. It creates space. Space for truth. Space for healing. Space for alignment. Space for someone who will choose you effortlessly. Stepping back is not retreat. It is refinement. It is evolution. It is the quiet return to your rightful place within yourself. And as you step back from what doesn't choose you, you step forward into a deeper version of your own strength. The version that no longer fears letting go. The version that no longer clings to the undeserving. The version that knows her worth without external confirmation. Stepping back is the doorway, but walking through it, walking into the next realm of your becoming, that is where your transformation continues. Because once you learn how to step back, you begin to learn how to rise. 10. You are not what happened to you. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she quietly realizes that the events she survived were not the authors of her identity, but the sculptors of her strength. And even though those events tried to define her, they were never capable of containing all that she was meant to become. You see, many people walk around believing their story ended the moment someone broke their heart, betrayed their trust, or made them feel small. But the truth is far softer, far more profound. You are not what happened to you. You are what you did with what happened. And that is a completely different story. You are not the person they walked away from. You are the person who remained, standing. You are not the person they underestimated. You are the person who learned how deeply they misjudged your worth. You are not the cracks they left behind. You are the light that began to shine through those cracks, revealing not your weakness but your resilience. And it takes time to understand this. It takes quiet evenings sitting with your own thoughts. It takes nights where tears wash away the illusions you once clung to. It takes mornings when you wake up with the faint whisper of hope, realizing that your story is still being written and that whatever tried to end you only ended a version of you that you no longer needed. There is a beautiful paradox in healing. The more you detach from the identity built from pain, the more you discover the identity built from truth. And the truth is simple. You are always larger than the heartbreak, wiser than the betrayal, and destined for growth beyond the limits that others placed on you. Most people never learn to separate themselves from their experiences. They say, I am broken, instead of I am healing. They say, I am unlovable, instead of I was not loved well. They say, I am weak, instead of I am learning to rise, but you are different. Because you are awakening to the realization that life didn't end. It transformed, it unfolded, it cracked open the shell that once protected you and invited you to step into the world as your deeper, truer self. You are not tragedy, you are transformation. You are not rejection, you are redirection. You are not the abandon, you are the becoming. When you begin to see yourself this way, the world starts to feel less threatening and more like a teacher. Pain becomes a compass, silence becomes a sanctuary, and healing becomes an act of remembering who you truly are. But even as this realization settles in your spirit, there is still a challenge that calls you forward, one that requires a new kind of courage. The courage to take back authority over your emotions. A courage that leads you into the next truth, a truth that whispers, you will never rise until you learn to master the storms within. 11. The discipline of emotional control. There is a moment in a woman's journey when she realizes that the battles she fights outside of herself are nothing compared to the battles she fights within, and emotional control, not suppression, not denial, not pretending, but true, deliberate, grounded control becomes the greatest form of power she can ever claim. Emotional control is not the absence of feelings. No, it is the art of feeling everything without letting anything enslave you. It is the ability to sit with your anger without letting it destroy you, to acknowledge your fear without letting it shrink you, to hear your sadness without letting it drown you, to experience disappointment without letting it define you. Most people react. You are learning to respond. Most people explode. You are learning to breathe. Most people hand their emotional power to whoever triggers them. You are learning to reclaim your inner throne. Because the truth is, your emotions are not your enemy. They are signals, not dictators, messengers, not rulers. They reveal where you hurt, where you long, where you need to heal, but they do not have the authority to decide who you become, unless you give them that authority. And far too often, women give away their emotional power to people who never deserved that influence. Someone ignores you, and your day collapses. Someone disrespects you, and your self-worth trembles. Someone walks away, and your identity shatters. But you are learning a different way. Emotional control means you no longer allow someone else's behavior to dictate your peace. You no longer allow external chaos to shape your internal world. You no longer allow rejection to turn into self-hatred. You no longer allow disappointment to spin into despair. You become the calm witness standing inside your own soul, observing the rise and fall of emotions. The same way one watches waves crash and recede, never mistaking the wave for the ocean. You begin to ask, what is this feeling teaching me? Instead of, what is this feeling doing to me? That shift is liberation. And yet, emotional control is not a solitary practice. It is woven into how you show up in relationships, how you withdraw, how you choose silence, how you reclaim your dignity. Because sometimes the strongest emotional move you can make is to remove yourself, which leads you to the next revelation, a revelation that whispers to your rising strength. Your absence can teach a greater lesson than your presence ever could. 12. Your absence is a lesson. There is a quiet kind of power that awakens in a woman. The moment she realizes that she no longer needs to argue, to justify, to convince, or to beg. A power that emerges the moment she understands that her absence can speak in places her words could never reach. Presence can be comforting, but absence can be clarifying. When someone repeatedly treats you with carelessness, your presence becomes something they take for granted. Your time becomes cheap. Your energy becomes expected. Your devotion becomes background noise. But your absence, your quiet, intentional, dignified absence, shifts everything. It disrupts patterns. It exposes truth. It forces reality into the light. It reveals who valued you and who simply used the convenience of having you available. Your absence is not punishment. It is a mirror that shows people what life looks like, without the version of you they thought would always be there. A mirror that reflects their own behavior back at them, with startling clarity. Because when you step back, you give space for truth to reveal itself. The ones who genuinely cherish you will feel the void and reach out. The ones who only wanted to take from you will feel relieved and drift away. And both revelations are blessings. Absence has a way of bringing order to the emotional chaos. We keep trying to untangle with words. You don't have to explain what someone already knows they are doing. You don't have to repeat what someone refuses to understand. You don't have to insist on the love someone has never shown the capacity to give. Your absence becomes the message, a message delivered without a raised voice, without a single argument, without any dramatic exit, just a quiet shift, a step back, a closing of the emotional door, a redirection of your energy inward. And in that space, you begin to heal. You begin to breathe again. You begin to hear your own thoughts without the noise of someone else's inconsistency. Your absence is the first step toward reclaiming yourself. But it is not the final step, because stepping away is one thing. Learning the wisdom behind why you step back is another. And that leads you gently, inevitably, toward the next truth forming in your spirit. Sometimes stepping back is not withdrawal, it is wisdom rising. 13. Rejection is divine redirection. There is a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when the soul begins to whisper a truth you spent years resisting. Not every door that closes is a loss. Not every ending is a failure. Not every separation is a wound. Sometimes it is life gently guiding you away from what would have destroyed you, toward what will finally align with the woman you are becoming. Rejection often feels like the universe tearing something out of your hands. It feels forced, abrupt, unfair, humiliating. You stand in the aftermath, staring at the emptiness left behind, wondering why something you once prayed for was suddenly taken from you. But over time, and only with time, you begin to understand that what you call rejection is sometimes nothing more than the rearrangement of your destiny. It is a sacred interruption, a divine correction, a redirection disguised in heartbreak. Look back on your life for a moment. Think of the times when you cried over someone who later proved they never deserved you. Think of the moments when you begged for things that would have broken you. Think of the places you tried to belong, where you now realize you were never meant to fit. Life has always known what you were ready to learn. What leaves you is sometimes what frees you. But the human heart, oh, how it clings, how it fights, how it tries to hold on to what has already let go of it. And in that struggle, we create our own suffering. Because nothing in your life is taken without purpose. Nothing collapses without intention. Nothing fails without teaching you what must rise in its place. Rejection is not a door slamming shut. It is a doorway being carved, a pathway being cleared, a future being protected. Sometimes the person who walked away was standing where your blessings needed to arrive. Sometimes the job you lost was blocking the work that would fulfill your deeper calling. Sometimes the love you cried for was too small for the woman you were on the verge of becoming. You see, life does not respond to your desires. It responds to your readiness. When you outgrow a season, the season must fall away. When you rise to a new chapter, the old one must end. When you evolve into a stronger identity, the relationships that belong to your former self can no longer continue. And though the transition feels like loss, it is in fact release. But release requires trust, the kind of trust that whispers to your trembling spirit, something better is on its way, something aligned, something whole, something sacred. And when you begin to trust this, your perspective begins to shift. Instead of asking, why did they leave me? You begin to ask, what was I being prepared for? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You begin to ask, what is this turning me into? Instead of asking, what did I do wrong? You begin to ask, what new strength is being born in me? Rejection is not a verdict. It is a redirection away from what was never yours, toward what has always been waiting for you. When someone leaves your life, your spirit begins its silent work. Bit by bit, it gathers your scattered pieces, cleanses your inner wounds, and guides you back to yourself. Because no matter how painful the departure was, no one has ever walked away from you and taken your destiny with them. Destinies are not stolen. They unfold. They reveal themselves through shifts, breaks, endings, and new beginnings. What feels like rejection today becomes the turning point tomorrow. What feels like devastation now becomes the doorway to alignment later. And slowly, beautifully, you learn to bless the doors that closed. You learn to thank the people who left. You learn to appreciate the seasons that ended because they made room for the season you were created for. But even as you accept this truth, another realization rises within you, one far more intimate and far more difficult to face. Rejection hurts less when you no longer tie your identity to who accepts you. And that leads to the next truth whispering through your awakening. You must remember who you were before others told you who to be. 14. Identity beyond relationships. There is a quiet shift that happens inside a woman when she finally understands that her identity cannot be built out of someone else's approval. It cannot be shaped by their affection, their validation, their praise, their attention, or their absence. For far too long you were taught, subtly, gradually, quietly, to measure your worth through the eyes of others. You were taught to feel enough when someone stayed, to feel beautiful when someone desired you, to feel whole when someone chose you, to feel valuable when someone approved of you. And without realizing it, your identity became a reflection of relationships instead of a revelation of your own soul. But there comes a moment, a powerful, painful, liberating moment, when you finally ask yourself, who am I outside of who loves me? That question is not easy. It shakes you. It disrupts the versions of yourself you created. To be accepted, to be understood, to be held, to be chosen. But the truth is this: relationships do not define you. They reveal you. They show you the parts of yourself you have ignored, the wounds you haven't healed, the patterns you haven't broken, the strength you haven't claimed. Identity does not grow in the hands of others. It grows in the quiet of your own soul. You must know who you are, even when no one celebrates you. You must know your worth, even when no one affirms you. You must believe in your power, even when no one recognizes it. Because identity rooted in external approval crumbles the moment someone withdraws their affection. Identity built within. Identity grounded in truth, in self-knowledge, in spiritual awareness, cannot be shaken by any human hand. You were not born to be shaped by relationships. You were born to bring your whole self into them. You were not born to chase belonging. You were born to embody it. You were not born to beg for love. You were born to be loved, in your strength, in your gentleness, in your boundaries, in your truth. And when you begin to reclaim your identity, you stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for your fullness. You stop negotiating your values just to be chosen. You stop abandoning yourself just to keep someone else comfortable. Your identity becomes your anchor. Your sense of self becomes your home. Your inner truth becomes your compass. But reclaiming identity is not only about knowing who you are. It is also about releasing the versions of you that were created in survival mode. The version of you that stayed silent to avoid conflict. The version of you that accepted disrespect because you feared abandonment. The version of you that played small because you didn't want to intimidate anyone. The version of you that tolerated inconsistency because you didn't believe you deserved better. These versions, though once necessary, are no longer the woman you are becoming. Identity is not found by holding on. Identity is discovered by letting go. Letting go of the expectations placed on you. Letting go of the roles you performed to be loved. Letting go of the masks you wore to belong. Letting go of the lies you believed about yourself. And in that release, a profound truth emerges. Your value has never been dependent on who chose you. Your value is inherent, unchanged, unmoved, untouched by rejection, and untouched by approval. Identity built on truth is immovable. Identity built on love is unshakable. Identity built on awareness is indestructible. But identity built on relationships will always fracture in the face of separation. So you begin to reclaim yourself piece by piece, not through someone's presence, not through someone's validation, but through your own awakening. You start to walk differently, feel differently, make decisions differently. You stop lowering your standards. You stop tolerating emotional crumbs. You stop giving chances that cost you your peace. And slowly, beautifully, you realize who you are has nothing to do with who walked away and everything to do with who you are becoming next. And that realization leads you gently, almost effortlessly, into the next truth rising on the horizon of your transformation. Because choosing yourself is no longer a luxury, it is your liberation. 15. Choosing yourself is the turning point. There comes a moment in a woman's life, a quiet moment, an unexpected moment, when she wakes up and realizes that the most radical act of love she will ever perform is choosing herself, not in a selfish way, not in a hardened way, but in a way that finally honors the truth she has ignored for too long. Choosing yourself is the turning point. It is the axis on which your entire life begins to shift. Because for years, you were taught that choosing others first was noble, that sacrificing your needs made you good, that carrying more than your share meant you were loving. But what no one told you was the cost, that every time you broke yourself to keep the peace, a piece of you dissolved. Every time you suppressed your truth to avoid conflict, your spirit dimmed. Every time you tolerated what hurt you just to keep someone close, your soul paid the price, and slowly, quietly, you began to disappear inside your own life. You forgot the sound of your own desires. You forgot the shape of your own dreams. You forgot the weight of your own worth. Because so much of your identity was tied to keeping others comfortable, that you never learned to make yourself a priority. But choosing yourself does not begin with loud declarations. It begins with a whisper, "I matter too." It begins with a small act of defiance against your old patterns. A single no where you once said yes. A boundary where you once stayed silent. A pause where you once rushed in to fix everything. A redirection of energy back to your own emotional well-being. Choosing yourself is not an event, it is a process. A gradual shift from self-abandonment to self-respect. A quiet returning to who you were before the world convinced you that your needs were inconvenient. And in that return, you discover something extraordinary. Your power was never lost. It was simply buried beneath the weight of expectations you outgrew. Choosing yourself means acknowledging that your time is valuable, your heart is sacred, and your presence is not to be taken for granted. It means refusing to stay where love is inconsistent, where effort is one-sided, where respect is conditional. It means remembering that you are allowed, deeply allowed, to put yourself at the center of your own life. But here is the truth that many fear. Choosing yourself often requires losing what was built on your neglect. It requires allowing some people to fall away. It requires walking away from situations that once felt like home, but were built on foundations that cracked the moment you healed. Because choosing yourself disrupts the old patterns. It shifts the dynamics. It forces the world around you to readjust. And not everyone benefits from your awakening. Some people prefer the version of you who tolerated everything. The version who never asked for more. The version who gave endlessly and received crumbs. But that version of you was living on borrowed time. The moment you choose yourself, the entire landscape of your life changes. Your boundaries sharpen. Your standards rise. Your self-respect grows taller than your fears. You no longer chase, beg, or cling. You no longer tolerate emotional scraps. You no longer wait for anyone to choose you because you already chose yourself. And the irony is this: when you choose yourself, you become impossible to lose because your worth no longer depends on anyone's presence. You were once afraid that choosing yourself would make you unlovable, but the truth is far sweeter. Choosing yourself makes you undeniable, irreplaceable, unshakable. You become a woman who knows her value, who moves with intention, who speaks from truth, who refuses to shrink. And awakening to that reality becomes the turning point where your life begins to rise. But choosing yourself is only the beginning, because once you reclaim yourself, you must learn how to protect what you reclaimed, which leads us gently, powerfully, inevitably, to the next truth whispering on the horizon. Loving yourself means setting boundaries that honor your worth. 16. Boundaries are acts of self-love. Boundaries. Such a simple word, yet for so many women, it feels like the hardest truth to embody. Because boundaries require courage. They require clarity. They require the willingness to disappoint others in order to stay loyal to yourself. Boundaries are not walls. They are not punishments. They are not ultimatums. Boundaries are the sacred lines that protect your emotional landscape. They separate what nourishes you from what drains you, what honors you from what diminishes you, what aligns with you from what pulls you into chaos. A boundary is a declaration. My peace is not up for negotiation. But for years, you were conditioned to believe that boundaries were harsh, that saying no made you difficult, that asserting your needs made you demanding, that protecting your energy made you selfish, so you swallowed your discomfort. You carried emotional loads that were never yours. You tolerated disrespect disguised as love. You settled for the bare minimum because you feared being forgotten. You accepted inconsistency because you didn't want to seem too much. Here is the truth you were never taught. Boundaries are how you teach the world to treat you. Without boundaries, you become a mirror, reflecting the desires of everyone but yourself. You become a vessel for other people's expectations, a landing place for their projections, a container for their chaos. But boundaries shift everything. They draw a line in the sand between you and the patterns that once controlled you. They clarify what you will allow and what you will no longer tolerate. There is a profound spiritual strength in saying, no, this does not honor me. No, this is not aligned with my peace. No, I will not shrink to fit your comfort. No, I will not abandon myself to keep you. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about protecting yourself. In the moment you set them, truly set them, your energy begins to change. Your relationships shift. Your priorities rearrange. Your spirit becomes calmer. Your intuition becomes louder. Your heart becomes safer within your own hands. Boundaries allow you to love without losing yourself, to give without depleting yourself, to connect without abandoning yourself. And that is the deepest act of self-love you will ever perform, the act of preserving your own soul. But boundaries also reveal truth. They show you who respects your growth and who resists it. They show you who values your peace and who benefits from your chaos. They show you who sees your worth and who was using your lack of boundaries as access. Some relationships will strengthen when you set boundaries, because those connections were rooted in mutual respect. Others will crumble, because they were built on your silence and compliance. Let them crumble. Let them fall away. Let what is misaligned collapse so that what is meant for you can finally breathe. Every boundary you set is a bridge back to yourself. Every no you speak becomes a prayer for your own healing. Every limit you enforce becomes a reminder, I am worthy of protection. And as you strengthen these boundaries, you begin to walk differently, with more certainty, with deeper confidence, with an unshakable sense of self. You no longer open your life to just anyone. You no longer ignore red flags. You no longer settle for potential over consistency. You no longer confuse attachment with love. You no longer stretch yourself thin trying to earn loyalty. Boundaries transform you from a woman who survives into a woman who chooses her life with intention. But even as they empower you, they lead you to an even deeper truth, a truth rooted in maturity, a truth built on spiritual wisdom, a truth that shapes the next stage of your evolution. And that truth is rising now, soft but undeniable. You cannot rebuild your life without rebuilding your relationship with yourself. 17. Soft but unbreakable. There is a paradox in the heart of every woman who has endured rejection, loss, and betrayal. She learns to be soft, and yet she becomes unbreakable. The softness is not weakness. The vulnerability is not fragility. It is the capacity to feel deeply while standing firmly. It is the ability to love freely while maintaining a sacred center. Softness is the language of empathy. It is the voice that speaks to the quiet parts of the soul, the gentle touch that heals unseen wounds, the patience that waits without desperation, the tenderness that comforts without compromising integrity. And yet, softness alone is insufficient if it is not paired with resilience, because the world is rarely gentle. It will test your limits. It will challenge your boundaries. It will attempt to shape you into someone who is convenient for it. And in those moments, you must remember, your softness does not demand abandonment of your strength. To be soft but unbreakable is to understand the rhythm of life. It is to move through the world with open arms, yet carry the unyielding conviction that your essence cannot be taken. It is to cry and yet rise, to forgive and yet protect, to love and yet demand respect. Softness without strength can be consumed. Strength without softness can be isolating. The alchemy occurs when these two forces coalesce, when the heart remains open but the spirit remains impervious to harm. There is a subtle power in this combination. People are drawn to it, yet cannot manipulate it. They feel the warmth and kindness of your heart, yet they also sense the unspoken line you will never allow them to cross. This is the essence of being soft but unbreakable. And becoming unbreakable does not happen overnight. It is forged in the quiet nights of self-reflection, in the painful moments of letting go, in the deep work of reclaiming yourself after being diminished by others. Every rejection, every betrayal, every disappointment becomes a hammer, shaping you into someone who can bend but not break, someone who can yield without surrendering, someone who can dance in the storm without being swept away. The unbreakable spirit respects its own energy. It refuses to enter spaces where it is not honored. It refuses to pour itself into people who cannot receive it. It refuses to soften at the expense of its own well-being. And yet, it remains tender toward the world, because tenderness is not weakness, it is wisdom in motion. To live soft but unbreakable is to embrace paradox. It is to understand that your capacity for love is infinite, but your tolerance for harm is finite. It is to walk gently, but to stand unwavering when tested. It is to speak from vulnerability, to move with the authority of self-possession. In this state, you begin to see the difference between presence and permission. You learn that just because you are willing to show up, it does not mean the world has a right to consume your energy. You learn that you can extend kindness without allowing it to be exploited. You learn that you can give love without surrendering your identity. And as you embrace this duality, something profound happens. You attract what resonates with your depth and repel what cannot honor it. The energy of your life begins to realign. The relationships, opportunities, and experiences that belong to you start to move naturally toward you. The chaos that once defined your existence begins to dissolve, because the woman who is soft but unbreakable commands her own gravity. And yet there is still another layer to this truth, one that reaches beyond strength and softness, beyond boundaries and resilience, beyond the world's validation or rejection. A layer that reminds you that the ultimate power lies not only in being soft or unbreakable, but in remembering who you were before the world tried to define you. Which brings us inevitably to the next truth rising within you. The journey home begins when you remember your true self.